Welcome to the first episode of Off Court. My name's Robbie, and I'm your host. And I'm pretty stoked to have my friend, business partner, and junior football nemesis Brandon Ellis with us on the first episode. How you doing, mate?
Hey, Rob. No, thanks for having me. I'm good. Just cruising. Looking forward to this. You hit me up about a week ago to do this, and I'm pumped to be on.
Champion. Now, mate, we have a long history, I would say. Probably going back to when we were about, 8 or 9 years old, playing against each other in the Moonee Valley West Coburg days.
Yes, I know. We had some pretty good battles when we were younger. I think the best one that we had was, the old man was coach of under 12s Moonee Valley team, and my old man was the coach of my under 12s team at West Coburg, and we played off in a grand final. And I think Moonee Valley, you guys had been undefeated all year, been the best team, and then we got, I think, within one goal of the grand final that year, and you guys, unfortunately, you beat us, but I still remember that day like it was yesterday. But we've had some great battles when we were younger, and obviously we played a lot of rep footy together growing up, through the EDFL rep teams and obviously the Quarter Cannons. So playing against each other and then with each other, so it's been awesome.
I remember this small kid wearing a helmet just slotting goals from the boundary in the grand final. That's all I remember.
Yeah, it's probably the only thing that I'd done all day, but wearing that helmet. Mum said, because I was a little kid and I was a lot littler than everyone else, she goes, if you don't wear a helmet, you're not allowed to play footy. So yeah, you can blame the helmet on my mum.
But congratulations on the engagement as well.
Yeah, I think it's been sort of a long time coming. When I got down on one knee and proposed to her, she goes, about bloody time. She didn't even say yes. She just goes, about bloody time. So, it's been a hectic, 18, 24 months, obviously moving our whole lives up here and then getting engaged. So, it's been fantastic, actually. So I'm loving it.
Yeah. So tell us about the move. I mean, obviously it's a massive move to, not only kind of, it's not just yourself that you kind of, have to deal with, but, Sarah, obviously, she's come along with you to the Gold Coast, which is a massive move for both of you. How's that kind of gone down, and how are you kind of settling in? And it's obviously a massive lifestyle change as well.
Yeah, so it probably all started at the beginning of the 2019 season. I was coming into my 8th year at Richmond, and I was a restricted free agent at the end of the year. So the possibility of me having to move clubs was always there, because the player sort of gets the power to choose whether they want to move or whether they want to stay, if they're happy or not happy. And, obviously I was really happy at Richmond and would have loved to have stayed, but obviously salary cap issues came into play, and I think halfway through the year they just said that it's probably best for me to start looking elsewhere, because, they couldn't pay to keep me. So if I had stayed, I would have had to take a huge pay cut. And I think coming into the back end of my career, I'm coming in probably the best football years of my life as well. I didn't think that I deserved to do that and should have had to do that. So, I started looking for other options, and Richmond were well aware that I was meeting up with other clubs and everything. So there's no hard feelings there. They were across it all. So, I guess I made my decision probably after the qualifying final win against the Brisbane Lions that year. It was like, start of September. I think it was like 29 degrees when we flew into Queensland, and I was like, wow, this is absolutely incredible. I love the weather up here. Obviously had a good win, and I guess I made my decision up then that I did want to come play for the Suns. I guess the hardest thing though was to convince Sarah to move up. Obviously we've been together for a long time, and she just purely would have been moving her whole life just for me, just to pursue my career. So it wasn't just an easy yes from her. We sort of had to sit down and have lengthy conversations about obviously the pros and the cons. Because it wasn't just like a 1 or 2 year deal we could go home after. It was a pretty big deal. It was in 5 years. So, sort of got her over the line to say yes. And here we are, nearly 24 months later. It's been, absolutely amazing. It's been fantastic. And I think I moved at the perfect time. Obviously, everything that's been happening in Melbourne the last 18 months, I guess I couldn't have picked a better time to move. But Queensland lifestyle is amazing, incredible. True. It's 23 degrees today and sunny, and it's winter. So, I can't complain.
Living the life.
Yeah, I actually am.
But no, that's definitely one of the things that I want to sort of cover in this podcast with you and going forward is the off-court or the off-field sort of side to athletes and, the business of sport and stuff. And, as you were just kind of alluding to, it's not just, you making the decision that you're going to go to Gold Coast on a 5-year deal. It affects your family and you've obviously got interests outside of footy as well. So, I can't even imagine how much you've got to kind of weigh up to make those kinds of decisions. And, I suppose on the topic of, you, Brandon Ellis, outside of footy, for the people who don't know, because it has been kind of well documented, I suppose, since you have entered the AFL system. Give us a sort of a brief background on your, I suppose, pathway to being an elite athlete, and you've obviously have to overcome, a few adversities, I'd say, and you've obviously built a lot of resilience.
So obviously pathway, I guess it started when I was probably 4 years old. Started Auskick down at, I think, Gillen Oval, down there in Brunswick. I started as a 4-year-old and did that for 3 years. And then my uncle Shane Francis was the coach of West Coburg under 10s footy club, who obviously my cousin Dylan, his son, played there. And I was 7 years old, so I couldn't qualify to actually get enrolled to play under 10s. But I think he pulled a few strings and done a few shifties, and he got me into the program. So I started my career off there, West Coburg, when I was 7 years old. Did 3 years of under 10s and played out my rest of playing days there until under 18s. And then I guess the Calder Cannons pathway and program came into play at under 16s, the Barry Davis squad it was called. I was fortunate enough to make that and play a couple of games, I think, against the Western Jets and the Northern Knights. And then I got a call up to do the summer training squad for the under 18s as a bottom age. I made the squad, but I didn't get to play until I think round 8 that year. I guess because at the Cannons they have a lot of private school boys, from Pegs, I think St. Kevin's, and they had a few other schools as well that they had to play these kids. They had to showcase them before they went to their school football. So I didn't get to go until I think it might have been round 7 or round 8 as a bottom age. And lucky enough, I held my spot once all the private school kids came back. And that year we ended up winning the TAC Cup Grand Final. So it's pretty special. And then I think over that summer, I got a letter to train with the Vic Metro squad to try out for that squad. Then fast forward 6 months training, the trials come. I play pretty well. Obviously, I made the squad. Then I get picked for the All Australian squad throughout the carnival. So I guess that's when I probably sort of started to believe and really believe in myself that, oh my God, like my AFL dreams, they could come true. Because at that stage I had a lot of letters coming in from AFL clubs wanting to interview me and just to have a general chit chat, I guess, just to get to know me before draft camp came up and then the draft. So it took me a while to I made some rep squads growing up, like the AFL rep squad with you, and that was probably the highest level of footy that I got to play. And I didn't get to make the Vic Metro squads growing up until the under 18, so I guess I was a bit of a late bloomer. But I guess I made the most important one and played the most important footy of my junior career when it mattered. And then come draft night, I was supposed to be going to Fremantle at pick 16. They come over a few nights before and said, oh, look, we're going to take you at pick 16, so get ready to move over here. And Mum started crying. She goes, don't take my boy, please. And then I'd heard from Richmond, but I hadn't heard because they had pick 15. But I hadn't heard from them probably a month prior. So I was like, I think I'm actually going to go to Perth. And like, don't get me wrong, I would have been wrapped and was stoked that a club was going to believe and back me in. But then like 2 minutes before Richmond picked, my manager Marty Pass texted me. He goes, Richmond. I was like, what? He goes, watch. And then their pick came, and I was actually at a family friend's house who allowed me to have a few people over there. And yeah, pick 15 came out and the house erupted, and yeah, that's that. And here we are today. So yeah, it's actually a pretty cool pathway when you think about it.
Yeah, it would have been an unbelievable feeling. And I think one of the things that a lot of people kind of echo about you, and I think it's the same with Adam Treloar, is that it's kind of what you see is what you get. It's like you're a very honest person, you're down to earth, and you don't try and put too much mayo on things. Yeah, exactly. I think people appreciate that, especially now when there's so much fluff with social media and stuff, where fake news and people, the influencer world where things can be fake more often than not. I think everyone kind of appreciates that kind of human element.
Yeah, I guess that's just sort of been me throughout my whole life. Throughout growing up, I've just been a sort of an honest and open person. As you said, like what you see is what you get. Sometimes I might be wrong and say the wrong things, but I'll take ownership for that and cop it on the chin and wear it. But I just love being me, love being who I am, and I don't try and shy away from that and don't be someone I'm not. But I guess that's probably been instilled in me throughout when I was a kid, through mum and dad. So yeah, what you see is what you get.
Well, lucky you're a good person, because we have been in business together.
I just let you make all the calls though. Like I might have ideas, and I'm like, you know what, I back you, and you make all the calls. But yeah, what a journey Uncle Jack was, hey.
Pretty crazy journey. So I suppose we should touch on that, really, shouldn't we? We co-founded Uncle Jack together, and for those who don't know, Uncle Jack is a watch company. And I suppose, from the get-go, to be honest, we had no idea what we were doing, really. Like we were kind of winging it, as we are now, to be honest. But we just had this idea. I remember sitting, myself, you and Lockie, our other partner, sitting in your backyard around the back table trying to just come up with a name for this crazy idea that we had, and just bonkers to kind of think about how it went from there to basically a 7-figure brand doing collabs with some of the biggest names in Australia. You're thinking Paddy Mills was probably my favorite collab that we did. Megan Gale, Dyson Heppel. So yeah, it's just crazy to think how it grew from that to a brand that a lot of people were wearing and talking about.
Yeah, it was
pretty cool.
Yeah, I remember that day. I think that was one of the hardest things about Uncle Jack, was actually coming up with a name, because we originally came up with a name, didn't we? But then we sort of got in a bit of trouble. Was it Flinders?
Yeah. Fair to say we didn't do our due diligence on that one.
What was it? Flinders. We sort of went ahead with it. And then what happened? Did you get a letter from somewhere or someone?
I actually can't. It was a 2-part word, but I can't remember what the second part was. But we set up a Facebook page, and this company who had this particular name trademarked, as soon as we set up the we hadn't even
I know,
we had done nothing other than just set up a Facebook page, and they must have had some kind of automated search trigger on or something. And we literally got a letter the next day just saying,
we're going to sue you.
Take it down now. I was like, okay. Yeah, so lesson learnt on day 0. But anyway, it came a long way from there. I remember the first launch of Uncle Jack, and I I think we sold maybe 30
We'll have it just to
watches,
sell one.
on the first night. Oh, mate, absolutely stoked. I remember popping the champagne.
I was actually
that
on
night.
I was actually on the way down to Phillip driving when we actually did our first launch, and you messaged me when our first sale came through, and I was stoked. And then I think I messaged you the next morning, like, oh my god, we sold 30 overnight, and I was like, oh my god, how cool is that? But yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
But the thing about that first launch, we sold 30, and 8 of them were, I don't know if you remember, to the US. And at that point, we hadn't figured out how to actually send watches overseas yet. So we had to refund 8 of our 30 orders because we couldn't figure out how to send. So not the best start.
And our office actually was our office / storage room / package room / post room was actually in your house in one of your spare rooms. So it's pretty humble beginnings, from where we started to where we actually got. Well, do you remember so after our first launch, what was about 30 watches, and then we redone another launch, built up the hype. Do you remember what the numbers were there? Because they were pretty significantly different.
Yeah. So I remember our first order. So we ordered 400 watches, and we were aiming to sell them out the first year. So, try and sell one a day or something. And I'm pretty sure our next launch was like, we had pretty much sold out our entire order. So within a couple of months, it was like completely kaput. Look, mate, I think combination of a good product, good timing, and a little bit of luck, I think that's all it takes. And we kind of got really good traction, and the rest was kind of history from there. So we moved into our first office, which was above the Italian Social Club in Keele East, right next to the freeway. Absolutely iconic. I remember is it AFL Game Day came into film?
Yeah, it was.
Was it AFL Players Association came into film a clip for, it was.
Oh, well, we didn't know any better. We thought it was awesome. I got our own office, could afford, I think, $200 a week, $150 a week for this office, getting out of, your house and your spare room. I was like, oh, this is a huge step. But then obviously looking back, like where we got to, it's like, I guess like everything happens for a reason. Like we went on an amazing journey, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I know that you wouldn't have it any other way as well, because it sort of helped build, what Uncle Jack was.
Definitely, I think it kind of, open book. Collectively we invested $12,000 between the three of us. So. It's not like we had $100,000 budget or $500,000 budget to try and create a brand. This was like, all our savings at the time kind of put into it, and trying to create something. So very humble beginnings, but I think you're right. It kind of creates that story. And again, going back to that kind of human element, not machines running the business. We're, a couple of young guys or a few young guys trying to start a brand, and I think that's kind of what compelled people to the brand, as opposed to being like, a corporate kind of machine that's just pumping out these products that they're pumping out 100,000 of them a year.
Actually, we'll go back an actual step. Why did you think of watches? You want to tell them the story about how it came apart? We missed out on that bit.
Yeah, so I was essentially I had the idea. I was going through High Point, which kind of feels old school to be buying a present for someone and going to a physical store to buy it now. But I was looking for a watch basically for a friend's birthday, and I think I was walking through Maya, and I was just looking at the showcases or behind the glass, whatever. And just being what is going on? Who our age would buy this and wear it? Do you know what I mean? just really complicated watches that I had no idea sort of what they did with like 6 or 7 dials, and like it's just like, come on, like at the end of the day, you're wearing a watch because it's a fashion statement piece. So, at the time there was this real minimal trend, I guess, where everyone was trying to, I suppose the trend was really peeling it back and simplifying kind of styles. So, yeah, basically came to you and said, I think I remember messaging you just with like something cryptic.
I was like, I love watches. You're like, I think I got something. And then you came over and you had like these printed out, I don't know, you had like 10 A4 white pages printed out of this like little like pictures of these watches that you thought, could actually take over the market and do well. And here we are today. But I think at that time, I think the Horse, the Wellington, and the Fifth, they were probably our 3 biggest competitors, and who we're going to be actually competing with. Other than that, there was as you said, like there was a huge spot in the market for Uncle Jacket, and that's why I guess you wanted to run it by me and obviously take the punt on it and see what we could do.
Yeah, I think the real key was trying not to be so mainstream. It was kind of our advantage in the end, like trying not to be a Fossil or a Timex who, they've perfected their product. It looks aesthetically pleasing, but there's not really, and I don't want to take away from what they've done. It's amazing, but we're kind of carving our own niche in terms of being boutique and telling a story. And, at the end of the day, we were so integrated into sport as well, which was a really cool point of difference for us as a brand.
Yeah, and I guess us both being, into sport and everything, it helped us or enabled us to do some collabs as well. Oh, sorry, I got something popping up on my screen. Yeah, helped us obviously do heaps of these collabs, which you spoke about before, obviously with like Paddy Mills, Dyson Heppel, heaps of other AFL players as well. And obviously I played with Sean Hampson at the Tigers, and that allowed us to get in contact with Megan Gale and do a collab with her, which was, bloody amazing. So, do you want to speak a little bit about them?
Yeah, I think I was going to say on that, it's kind of like, that's probably what people ask me about the most are those collabs. They're just like, how does it work? Like, do you meet these people? How does it kind of come together? Just slide into the DMs. But I think, look, Megan Gale, Paddy Mills, and Dyson Heppel, they were my 3 favourite collabs, and I think for 3 different reasons. I think Megan Gale, an icon of the industry, like seriously, like, just I think it kind of added a lot of credibility. And look, for her to do that as well was a big risk personally. Like at the time we were not really a hugely known brand or anything like that. So she really took a risk and invested in what we were doing, which kind of really, I think, felt good on a personal level as well, knowing that we were going about it the right way. So that was pretty amazing to kind of do. And I remember that went really well, but I remember sitting there I think we were at Kensington at this point in time when we did that launch, and I believe Megan was on the Today Show because we did it was we had the Movember charity link. So I remember sitting in Kensington at about 7 a.m. and just going, whoa, like I had never seen anything like it as far as like, website traffic, sales, just brand exposure, social media was going nuts. And I think that's, I was sitting there by myself. It was so early. And you just got to kind of pinch yourself as to, what's happening. Like this is probably never going to happen again. Like this, just the sheer volume of what was happening. I think that collab, aside from, Megan being so iconic and so, have such a reputation in the industry. I think it was just the sheer, like, early days pinch yourself moment, like what's happening.
She allowed us to even like into her world and help, you know, create a watch, and for her just to sort of to back us in, or even back you in, because you dealt with her a lot more than I did. Yeah, it was amazing. Like, even now when I think about it, it still puts a big smile to my face. I think that's when I was like, I think we've made it.
Yeah. I think the other two that I mentioned, Paddy Mills for me was like, I think that was more like, I don't think I usually get kind of
starstruck,
like, what do you call it, like star eyes when you meet someone like that.
Spurs.
Like an NBA player, Australian NBA player, like iconic. I think it was just so cool to do that, and myself and Matt Harrow, who was doing our content, I remember flying up to Sydney. So we did the photo shoot at a public basketball court in Sydney with Paddy Mills. And, you know, I remember just like a crowd kind of congregating around. And I don't know, you kind of know you're working with the right person when, you know, I always say the best people to work with are the ones that are known and I suppose have some credit in real life rather than just social media. As far as working people with, you know, on a collab front. And I don't think there's any better metric than people crowding around when someone's, you know, doing a photo shoot in public. Like, that was the next level. And the photos were insane. Like, you know, I'm not from Sydney, so it was all new to me, but this basketball court in the park was like overlooking the city. So we got these awesome photos of Paddy like hanging off the chains in the basketball court, you know, wearing his watch and stuff. So it was unreal.
Dyson.
Yeah, that was nuts too. And the other one, Dyson Heppel, I guess, from a totally different perspective as well. I think, again, we had a charity link on this one, which was Sclerodome, which was really close to Dice. But I think, you know, in a similar vein, we're talking about yourself earlier, he's really just a down-to-earth sort of genuine guy. And when he speaks, everyone listens. And he was able to tell some really sort of genuine stories about how, you know, the cause had affected him and how he wanted to help. And he still does so much in that space. So that was a really meaningful campaign as well, I think. So they're kind of probably the three.
So the Brandon Ellis watch ×2 doesn't stand out for you at all? That's fair. I might just get off this call. And obviously the premiership watches as well. They obviously went pretty well for us. I don't know if I remember this, but when we did, I think, the 2017 premiership watches, I think we had them all like ready to go, ready to launch. You know, only if we had one, and obviously Richmond did. Didn't you have to take it sort of offline because the orders were just going through the roof and we just couldn't keep up with them? Or did I dream that, or am I talking crap?
Maybe it was just you in the moment after winning a premiership. You're pretty much right. So from memory, we had them. So we're talking about you released your own watches basically to celebrate winning the premiership. So because what we had to do was pre-order them. We had a cut-off date where we had to put our quantity in for it, and you know, because it takes a couple of months for us to get them made and ready to go, we had to cut it off about 5 days after we launched it. So look, we obviously had a fair chunk and a fair idea of how many, but we were way off. Like,
sort of take it off and stop it. Like, God knows how many would have been able to sell. But yeah, the Tiger Army came out in full flight then.
Yeah, but do you know what? I think Yeah, but I think that was kind of like the beauty and the appeal of what we were doing is it wasn't like there was a lot of it was a lot of
Yeah.
hype around it because it was genuinely selling out so fast. Like we were constantly moving limited releases and they'd be gone forever, and that's what sort of created interest in the next one. And it wasn't even something that we had manufactured to happen. It was just crazy demand, and we just kind of rolled with it and rolled with the punches and just.
So how many times did you go over to, was it China or Hong Kong, wherever the factory was, to meet our obviously suppliers and distributors? How many times did you go over? You haven't even taken me once, thanks, mate.
I've been over now 10 times to Hong Kong. Oh, mate, you're a busy man.
But because I remember you saying like when we started this, you're like, I need to go over. I need to meet these people, because I need them to know that we're serious about this, because there's so many companies and startups that want to import stuff and get stuff made over in China that a lot of them just probably don't even take them serious, because this is like, another one. All they want to do is try and make quick dollar and then leave. But you were real on, like, wanting to go over there to meet the team that you dealt with. And I think that obviously helped as well. And it would have been, as I said, like really helpful in how like successful we actually got and how quick, some turnarounds were for us. Do you want to sort of explain your relationship that you have with them?
Yeah, for sure. I think you're spot on about, getting over there and meeting your suppliers. And I suppose the culture over there is not just like this is a business relationship. You really become kind of friends in a way. I suppose it's kind of how they do business, which is pretty cool. Whereas I think here we're a bit more, we're standoffish, I guess, with our business relations, which is, it's just a cultural thing. So, you cannot beat meeting your suppliers in person and putting a face to the name. And to be honest, I was really shocked by the hospitality that I was offered while I was over there. Like, they just, I can't speak for everyone, but in my experience, and this is purely anecdotal, like, if they... if you wanted to, they would spend 24 hours with you, like helping you, get around. And like, they, apart from the factory stuff, which is seriously awesome experience, they, they took me to like, fun parks over there and like, local shopping and stuff, which is awesome. Like, just, again, it's just kind of like building that relationship. Yeah. But, so... some people know, some people don't know that Uncle Jack was acquired in 2020 last year, so by some private investors. So obviously a big decision that we made to accept that and kind of move on. But I suppose it's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this podcast and just kind of chat about the journey of Uncle Jack, that we kind of started and experienced to this date. And, the brand continues to flourish under new investors and, some of the people that we kind of put into those positions are still there and making sure that brand goes to the next level. So, no, it's always good to go down memory lane about, what we created
from 30 orders to our first one to some launch nights. What was our biggest launch night, if you don't mind telling everyone? What was our biggest sale in one night?
Well, I think so. We actually got an AFL license. So in the last 18 months of us running it, we were doing AFL launches where we were launching like 18 clubs watches on a single day. So like that was just, it was the best and the worst day, because it was like, it was like a 23-hour day. Like, I don't think I slept at all, but it was totally worth it. it was, mate, it was honestly crazy. Like, you're not just like launching one watch and it's like, all right, it's launched, it's done.
Yeah.
And so we were basically launching every half an hour. We would launch the next team. And I remember the first time we did it, because we had no idea what to expect. Like, we had never done anything like that. And to be honest, the AFL hadn't done anything like what we were proposing to do in terms of the AFL license. Like, I mean, you would know more than anyone, like, the merchandise is pretty straightforward. Like, it's pretty stock, up and down, you know, slap a logo on it sort of thing. So what we were trying to do with creating limited watch releases with cool designs was pretty eye-opening, I think, for the AFL, and it was something that they really wanted to kind of go down the path of. So yeah, that first launch just went nuts. Like, you know, I don't want to release numbers so much just from a confidentiality point of view, but certainly our biggest launch day, and really rewarding. Like, obviously, because we're all sports nuts, it was really cool to be able to create almost like fan merchandise in a fashion sense. It was really breaking down the barriers between fan merchandise and fashion product, awesome. Which I think...
any other business ideas you want to run past me? You want me to get involved in, or what, mate? Or is we going to talk about this off the camera? Oh no! Is it funny that this is how I said you don't sleep before? Some mornings I'd get up and you would text me at like 3 a.m. You have an idea. I'm like, bro, go to sleep. Like, I have my phone on airplane mode every night, so I get them when I turn on in the mornings. I'm like, this guy actually doesn't sleep. Like, your brain works 24/7.
But you know what? Like, the 3 a.m., a lot of my mates say, because, like, for some reason I get up at 3 a.m., like, every day. It's just really weird, like, my body clock. And I swear that's when my best ideas happen, at 3 a.m. So my mates are always saying, like, stop messaging us. Like,
I was going to say, obviously it's helped you.
Anyway, post...
I'll help you be successful to this date. So,
we'll see. We'll see if it's sustainable, hey?
Being successful.
But Brando, what are you? I mean, we're wrapping up because I know you got a Pilates session you got to hit up. But what are you kind of? I mean, off court, you know, what are you kind of doing? You know, outside of footy, you know, I know you're pretty big on your investments, and you got some other kind of you know, you're passionate about things outside of footy, which is a good thing. Do you want to just run us through that?
No, so yeah, obviously I love my fitness. I'm into my fitness. And when I finish football, I'd love to own a gym and you know, start and create my own gym. So I sort of got something in the works with a few mates back home in Melbourne. So that's something that I'm really passionate about. It's something that I want to do post football. During COVID lockdown last year, when the AFL season was put on hold for like 12 weeks, I just about completed my Cert 4 in fitness, which obviously gives me the license to be a qualified PT. So sort of tick that box. I've done a few little like short courses throughout my career so far. I've done like Cert 4 in business. I've got my agent's rep course, so which allows me to be a real estate agent. But you know, I think me, I don't mind property. Steady growth, it's good. But yeah, so I think, the number one thing after footy that I want to do is, you know, get into a gym, open up my own gym and own that. Like, I just love it. I love the fitness side of things, and I know that when I finish footy, I'm not going to just be a couch potato. You know, I'm going to definitely get up most mornings and train, and what better way to do it in your own gym and obviously to help other people, you know, live healthy lifestyles. So yeah, that's sort of, I know I can't sit still as it is. So you've done well to keep me sitting still for the last 40 minutes. I think you're going to be bouncing off walls, man. But I just need to be doing something. I can't be in an office. I can't be behind a computer. It needs to be hands on. So yeah, that's sort of what I want to do and what I'm sort of investing my time in at the moment.
No. Awesome. No, well, I really appreciate you coming on for the first episode of Off Court. I thought if anyone was going to be the first guest, it had to be you. So no, it's been a pleasure running through the UJ days. And
thanks for having me, Rob. It's been awesome. It's actually pretty cool to talk about our journey with Uncle Jack, because I think it's our actual first time talking about it since it got acquired in 2020. So actually pretty proud moment, and still pinch myself that what we were able to do was pretty awesome. Yeah. All right. Thanks, mate. All right. See you, mate.